In this video, we're going to go over how to get unstuck if you're a little stuck in 4-6 classwork. I'm not going to do all of the problems. I'm going to do about 4 of them, and they should be examples of each type of problem in this set of classwork. If you have more questions, come to the office hours, and I can work with you there. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with number 3. Number 3 says, this one says type 1. If you look back to the notes that we took when writing equations, type 1 was one of the categories that we had. So if you want to look at that to reference it for how to do this problem, you can. That'll make things a little easier for you. Not quite sure why everything just went down. All right, there we go. So this one says we are given a slope of -5 and a y-intercept of 0 and 11, of 0, -11. Now, when I go do these things, I like to keep my colors the same. A slope of -5 and a y-intercept, 0, -11. So this is telling us that we have, actually, before we even get to that, I'm going to write out what our goal is in this problem, okay? Because that may be an important piece. So our goal is to write an equation that looks like y equals, and I'm going to keep my colors the same. My slope, I'm going to try and keep it this pink color, m x, plus b, okay? And now, in case you don't remember, our b is our y-intercept, and our m is our slope, all right? Now, when we're looking at b, the way we want to think of this, it's given us an ordered pair, but when we write it in an equation, we're just going to write the number. So our y-intercept is 0, -11, but our b, when we write it, is just going to be -11, okay? So when we're writing it out like that, you want to make sure you're careful with that. But when we go and we write this thing out, the 0 and -11, for type 1, it's giving us a slope and a y-intercept, and those are the two things we need for this question. So our answer, when we start to write it out, we end up with a y equals. Our m is this -5, so y equals -5x plus -5x plus our b. And our b in this case is -11. And so instead of plus, it'll be a minus. -5x minus 11, okay? And there we have written out this equation, or the information that was given to us. We've used that to write a equation in slope-intercept form, all right? If you have more questions on this one, this is something you're probably going to want to come to the office hours for, so that you may get some help with it, all right? Next question we're going to cover, I'm going to clear these drawings. Next question we're going to cover is going to be number 6. Number 6 is type 2. So if you want to refer back to the 4-6 notes and look at that, we're going to use that, or you can use that to help you out. The way we're going to do this one, this is what's called, we're going to use what's called a point slope equation, okay? Point slope, or point slope formula, I should call it, all right? And this is also in the notes. Point slope formula, Formula. All right, writing's a little sloppy, but you guys can read it, I assume. Point slope formula. And if you don't recall, our point slope formula is y minus y1. And I'm going to try my best to keep the colors the same here. It takes a bit of time doing it, but I think it's worth it. Y minus y1 equals m times, oops, wrong color, times x minus x1, okay? And the reason I have these colors in red is because they correspond to what we did in the notes. So go watch that video if you haven't watched it. That'll give you a more in-depth version of how to do this stuff. Now that we have our equation written, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to label the information that's given. It tells me that my slope is 2. So I'm just going to go, I circle it, slope of 2, circle it in the color that it's written. And I'm going to go and label the points that it's giving me. It's giving me -1, 4. My -1 is going to be my x1. and then my 4 is going to be my y1, okay? These are going to go in the spots here. So when we go and we rewrite this equation with the data in it, or the points and information that it's given us, we get y minus, my y1 is this 4, y minus 4 equals, my m is 2, and then I have in parentheses x minus, my x1 is -1. So minus and -1 is going to be +1, okay? We end up with y minus 4 equals 2x plus 1. And now we have this thing set up, ready to go through and solve it like we would any other equation. So to do it, we need to distribute this 2 to this x and to that 1. And we end up with a y minus 4 equals 2 times x is 2x. And then the x looks a little funny. 2 times x is 2x. And then 2 times 1 is 2. So plus 2. And now we need to perform our opposite operation to that 4 and add 4 to both sides to get that y by itself. And we end up with y equals 2x plus 6. And here we have our equation written in y-intercept form, okay? We've got our slope right here in pink, or underlined in pink, and our y-intercept written or underlined in purple. Now here's something that a lot of you seem to get confused on, our y and our y-intercept, okay? Just a reminder, our y is going to be an output. And this goes back to our unit 2 when we started getting into functions. The same way x was our input. We have x as input, y as output. That is still the same. That has not changed. What we have introduced, though, is the idea of a y-intercept. And our y-intercept is where our graph crosses the y-axis, okay? I'm not going to write all that out. That might take a while, but that's going to be written as an ordered pair. It's going to be 0 and a number. So that's the difference. Our y, just straight y, that's an output, whereas our y1 is one of the values that we have. And then we have a y-intercept, which is where the graph is going to cross the y-axis. So if we were to graph this thing, it would cross the y-axis at 6. So for this equation, we end up with 0, 6 as our y-intercept, okay? Hopefully that helps you as we go through this. I'm going to move on to the next question, question 9. And if I'm going too fast and you need to rewind me and watch it again, that's more than okay. Let me clear this stuff off first, actually. And now let's move on to question 9. Question 9 says the line goes through -3, 5, and 4, 2. This one has probably the least amount of calculations that we have to do, but we have more things to type into Desmos. When we go and use Desmos, I always change my settings. I put it on projector mode, and I always do arrows. Sometimes I'll do reverse contrast. I like the way it looks, but I won't do it this time. When we go to type this into Desmos, we want to add an item, which is going to be this plus sign in the upper left-hand side, add an item, and then add a table. In this table, we're going to input our ordered pairs as different values in the table. My x1 is going to have my x values for my ordered pairs, and my y1 is going to have my y values for my ordered pairs. So this, I have -3. My first ordered pair is -3, 5. And then my second ordered pair is 4, 12. All right. We have that in there now. In my next step, I'm going to tell Desmos to use the information I've just put in this table to estimate what my slope and my y-intercept are going to be. So I can write this equation. And to do that, I'm going to type y1 and then tilde. The tilde is the key next to the number 1, to the left of the 1 key. When you type that, you're going to hit shift and then press it so you get the squiggly line. So y1 tilde mx1 plus b. All right, and here it's giving us a line, and it's also giving us an m and a b. Before I write the equation, I just want to let you all know that this y1 here, the reason we use y1 is you're saying to Desmos, all right, Desmos, take this column here, and then I want you to reference it with that column there, the x1 column, okay? So it's just the name of the column. If we were to change the name of this column to orange and type in orange here, it would still be the same thing. That's why we use it that way. Now, when we look at this, our slope is 1 and our y-intercept is 8. So we're going to type out y equals x. Since our slope is 1, we don't need to put a number in front of it. The 1 is understood. X plus 8. All righty. And that is number 9. All right, I'm going to do the one more. And then if you need more help with it, you'll have to come to office hours to get more help. So this one says, you are given a graph, write the equation of the following line. This corresponds with type 4 on the notes. With type 4 on the notes, we can do these many different ways. I always like to do it the simplest way for me. If it works differently for you, you're more than welcome to do it whatever way you like the best. I like to find my slope and my y-intercept because that's exactly what I need to write this line. So I'm going to start off with my y-intercept. I'm going to find where, this is my y-axis and this is my x-axis, just in case anyone doesn't remember. I like to find where my graph is crossing my y-axis, and it's crossing right here. And then I'm going to find a good point to reference off of that to count my slope. Okay, so this is crossing. I'll go ahead and I'll write that out. I have b equals -2. Okay, so we're already halfway done. We got half our information right there. Now we just need to find what m equals. And now we're going to go find that by counting our slope from a graph. To count my slope from graph, if you remember that set of notes, we need 2 points, 2 good points. And what we mean when we say good points is that they cross on the crosshairs. So this 2 is on the crosshairs, it's a y-intercept, and I'm going to look for another one. And here we have one here. Now to count my slope, I'm going to count rise over run, okay? Rise over run. And this, I'm going to rise from -2 to 1. To get to that level of this dot, I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3. I've counted 3 up, so my rise is going to be 3 over. And what is my run? So I counted 3 up, and to get there, I only go over 1 square. So I have a 3 over 1. But when we have slope, we always want to simplify. So 3 over 1 is going to get simplified to 3. And now that we have our slope and our y-intercept, we can write out our equation in slope-intercept form, which is going to be y equals our m, which is 3, 3x plus b. And my b is -2. So instead of being plus, we're going to have a -2, 3x minus 2. And there we have it, okay? There's a quick version of how to do these things. If you're still struggling with the rest of them after looking at this, let me know, come to the office hours, and we'll get you squared away and up to speed with everything, okay?